Hello, and welcome to Ear Shifter. He's Sean Capstick.
He's Renee Rouleau. And we are your warm and congenial hosts.
Indeed. And Sean, tell us why we're here. Why did we start Ear Shifter? What's it all about?
Well, I think it's because we wanted to talk about bands we love and maybe educate people about the bands that if they haven't heard of them, they might find something interesting in the bands that we're talking about. If they do like the band already, maybe we can talk a little bit more about them and they can find something out. And we can, talk about other bands along the way that influence this band.
I think, and I think also it's our chance to kind of re-explore bands as well. Like this band in particular, you mentioned them to me probably 15 years ago, but they didn't grab me. But this forced me to re-listen to them, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But it was an interesting journey for me.
Well, I have liked them for the last 15 years. They have been never that far away in terms of when I need something to listen to that's going to be very lyrically oriented, emotive, and something that in the end just makes me feel good.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. I want to hear more about that because musically, some of the songs made me feel good, but some of them were very melancholy and kind of sad. So I thought that's interesting.
And yeah, we'll talk about how I would categorize all of the songs. But
okay.
So the Weakerthans started much like the last band that we talked about as skateboarding punk rockers, which is a pretty good place to start out of. They are from Winnipeg, Manitoba. And for our listeners who aren't familiar with probably about the geographical center of Canada, that's where you would find Winnipeg in the Canadian Shield on the path of the Voyageurs, and at one time, probably was thinking it was going to become the capital of Canada since it was so economically important. And now they've got a pretty rich musical scene. So there was a punk rock scene. John K. Sampson, who I'll talk a lot about, he left the punk band Propaganda and formed the Weakerthans with Red Fisher, another punk band from Winnipeg, with John P. Sutton and Jason Tate. And they became a more melodic, introspective, maybe a little bit melancholy band than just a very political punk band. They took their name from a union anthem, Solidarity Forever. The line is, "What force on earth is weaker than the feeble strength of one?" Which is actually, he does sing that in one of the songs as well.
Okay, that was one of my questions.
So that's how the Weakerthans became the Weakerthans. And they are on hiatus. They are cryogenically frozen, to quote the band. But don't fret, they're still pretty active. I don't know what John Sutton's doing now, but Jason Tate continues to work with John K. Sampson. He is one of the first time I saw them, Bahamas opened up for them, and he's a drummer for Bahamas.
I like Bahamas.
And, has been working with Bahamas and other independent bands.
Also Canadian, right?
Also Canadian. Stephen Carroll is a producer, and Greg Smith replaced the original bassist. He is the bassist for Lowest and Low.
Huh. Wow.
So they continue to be active, even if they aren't active, as the band.
And help me out. Who's the lead singer? What's his name again?
John K. Sampson.
Okay. Because there's two Johns,
really
right?
is the band to me. He wrote the lyrics. He is the front man. The other guys were great, but, he is really what, when I think of the Weakerthans, I think of his lyrics. And so this is how he describes himself on a very, very simple website. John K. Sampson is a talk-singing, sober, leftist, vegetarian Quaker who lives in Winnipeg. Treaty 1 territory. Treaty 1 meaning treaty with the Indigenous First Nations.
Okay.
That Canada is divided up into non-treaty and treaty areas. And Treaty 1 was the first treaty that was signed between the British and the different First Nations people.
Holy crap. I didn't think this was a history lesson too. Jesus. Okay.
And he lives with his wife, Christine Fellows. He at one point was I believe a adjunct professor at UBC. She's been a literary professor at universities, and he continues to release music that we'll talk about. He runs a book publishing company and, is still out there.
Does he write poetry?
He does write poetry.
Oh, like books of poetry.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I could see that.
Yeah. He's got a collected book of lyrics and poems.
Do you own that, Sean?
No.
Would you like that for Christmas?
I am giving it to my son for his birthday.
Oh, very cool. Okay, well, spoiler alert, son, sorry.
It's coming up pretty quick before we get this edited.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So they continue to be, although the band is John K. Samson, the Weakerthans were a band themselves. Another favorite of our family, Jim Bryson, who is a guy I think he's from Ottawa. He lives in Ottawa now, but he had the Weakerthan band back him up on a classic album called The Falcon Lake Incident, which Falcon Lake is a lake in Manitoba. And maybe this is a history lesson.
Yeah, man.
It's famous for Canada's most famous UFO sighting.
Whoa.
So it has been investigated by the Americans as well. The Falcon Lake Institute.
Do you know when that was?
In 67.
67. Okay.
Yeah. So it's been of some renown for some time. Yeah. So let's get back to Winnipeg, right? Okay. Because its musical history is pretty strong.
Winnipeg. Sorry, Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Okay. Guys, just so you know, it's like minus 30 Celsius most of the winter in Winnipeg.
Yep. The Guess Who are from Winnipeg.
Oh, that's kind of awesome. My sister loved the Guess Who.
And of course, that means Bachman Turner Overdrive from Winnipeg. Yeah. But Neil Young went to high school there.
What?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, and he left from Winnipeg to California to start Buffalo Springfield. So so Winnipeg's got a pretty good musical history.
Okay.
So we can talk about their albums. They started in 97, and astute listeners should know that all of the albums were produced by Ian Blurton of Change of Heart fame.
Whoa, that is wild.
Starting in 97, Fallow, following up 3 years later with Left and Leaving, arguably their best album, but then a solid reconstruction site, and then finally their last album, the somewhat ironic Reunion Tour album.
Which I think, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I think that had my most favorite tracks. I actually, just from my experience, the first album was okay, but I found myself getting more into some of the tracks from the following two albums.
So I think we can categorize, for the purposes of our discussion, John K. Samson writes only about four things: sports, and anthropomorphication. He follows the literary devices of place settings and literary cartography. He also sings about amateur cartography, and very much grounded in a place. His songs are rooted. A lot of them are in Winnipeg, set in Winnipeg, and relationships. So sports. He has since released two solo albums. So I'll start with the solo albums, which are, again, very place-based, provincial, that has a lot of
hockey references.
And
crying out loud.
Road references.
Oh, for Christ's
actually.
sake.
But you'll like the hockey references.
Will I, though?
Yes, I think you will.
You sure?
Old school hockey.
Okay. Old school hockey I can live with.
Yeah. And then winter wheat, which is, of course, one of the main exports, along with financial advice, that Winnipeg gives out.
What?
Yeah, Winnipeg's a huge financial center. That's where Power Corp is located.
Holy crap. I am learning like a lot of stuff about Winnipeg. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Called winter wheat.
Okay.
So, sports. And I think it's just a single, but he sings a song called Fantasy Baseball at the End of the World, where he just sings about his fantasy baseball league and how he would trade hope and joy if he could kill that president. It doesn't name the president by name, but it's quite a poignant protest song about how he hopes one day his fantasy baseball league will continue past the presidency. So that's an interesting sports metaphor.
When was that written? Do we know? Like what year?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
In the last 6 years. It's one of his latest things that he's put out. He has a petition song to put an Indigenous hockey player who won a Stanley Cup with the Islanders into the Hockey Hall of Fame. So that's another sports reference. He talks about Bobby Orr in one of his protest songs and compares the protagonist to Bobby Orr's hockey career. And he sings an elegy. He's got a few elegies, which is a singing eulogy.
Thank you, because that was going to be my next question.
To Gump Worsley, which is a goalie who played for the New York Rangers, the Canadiens, and the North Stars. So, again, old school hockey. But I think the funniest sports song is where he uses curling to describe a troubled relationship. So why don't we hear Tournament of Hearts?
So Elvira brings my bottle, hold it up and let it bend. The figures of two rings battling an extra end. And I'm peeling off the label as they peel a corner guard. Dance down the sheet to the tune of Hurry, Hurry Hard.
Okay, so I liked this song. Now, I didn't like a ton of the songs, but I was very surprised at myself that I listened to the playlist that you shared with me. So thank you for that. And I listened to it a good 3, 4, 5 times. And I found myself starting to like certain songs, which is much like the radio, where it's like, hey, I'm starting to like the song they're playing 18 million times. So that song in particular reminded me, tell me if I'm wrong, but it felt a bit like a Death Cab for Cutie song or a Shins song. Like it had a poppy, good feeling sort of feel. And so I enjoyed it because of that.
And that was from the last album. They had developed a more polished, poppier sound and fun, right? The Tournament of Hearts is the name for the Women's Curling Championship. So
nice. And you are a recent curler. To boot.
I take back any derision, any bad things I ever said about curling. It's actually extremely fun, difficult, and a great social activity.
Well, there you go. And Canadian.
And Canadian, yeah. Although those Scottish people are pretty good at it now, too.
Okay,
so now moving on to the anthropomorphic,
I think,
songs. So he sings a song from the perspective of Bigfoot. But my favorite song is the first of the trilogy about Virtue the cat.
Are we going to hear that?
Let's talk about the story a little bit and then we can play it.
Okay.
So this is a trilogy. It starts on the Reconstruction Site album. Again, a little bit more poppy, a little more polished songs. He's not just talking about the human condition. And it's a song about the human condition written from a cat's perspective. So the cat is telling its owner that they're strong and that they should get over their depression, and that if they just worked at it, they would get better. And it's quite a poignant song written from the perspective of the cat. And then on the reunion tour
album,
the cat leaves. So the cat explains her departure. And again, very, sad, but the cat explains how she can't remember the sound that the owner made for her, i.e. her name, right? That I can't remember the sound that you made for me, and how she just slowly goes away because she didn't want to be with this depressed person anymore. So the cat chooses to do what the cat wants to do. And then as one of his solo albums, he's quoted to say that was really a tough place to leave both the cat and the unnamed subject of the first song. So they reunite on his solo work.
Okay, because I only know the two songs. And by the way, I love both those songs. Maybe the first one a little bit more than the Departure one. But I actually thought the Departure one was about the cat passing, but it's not, which is nice to hear.
The cat is decided that it's not going to come back.
Yeah, but it's not dead.
It's not dead. No.
Yeah, that's good.
No, the cat and the lines are so great about the cat wanting to cater this party that the cat is encouraging its owner to have with all the birds that it can kill. Which a cat would be like, I'll do that.
Yeah. Birds or mice.
Yeah. You can bring your sister if she doesn't bring her basset hound. And so it's quite, again, a nice turn of phrase in terms of this view of the human condition.
Yeah, and the irony, listeners, is that for the first time ever, Sean, why don't you tell the listeners what you have right beside you?
I have a sleeping cat that isn't catering or concerned with much at all.
Yeah. Not much of a participant in the podcast, but visually kind of cute. Yeah. So are we going to listen to...
Virtue the Cat.
Excellent. Let's do it.
Lick the sorrow from your skin. Scratch the tear and begin to believe you're strong.
Okay, so Sean, this is probably my favorite song. Like this song, was the first one to grow on me, and now each time I listen to it, I just have a nice kind of happy feeling, and it's just got some energy to it, and it's just kind of cute, for lack of a better description. It's just cute and makes me feel good.
Yeah, and I think the harmony about lick the sorrow from your skin is a very nice little chorus.
Yeah, actually, this seems like a good time to talk about this. So when I was listening to this band, or listening to it for the second time in 15 years, immediately I was like, oh my God, I totally understand why Sean wants to cover the Weakerthans, because lyrically, the guy, I was paying attention to lyrics. Now, listeners, if you haven't listened to many of these, Sean's kind of ironically the lyric listener, and me, with a background in it as an English major, I actually listen to the feeling of the music more than the lyrics. And so this band actually made me pay attention to lyrics, because lyrically, just phenomenal. And his voice is one of those voices that makes you pay attention to the lyrics as well. There are some bands or artists that have great lyrics, but you're not paying attention to lyrics as much. But and I put him in the same category, by the way, as a Daniel Johnson. He's got that kind of delicate voice, and he, makes you pay attention to what he's singing about. And then a little bit different, very different actually, but voice-wise, tone-wise, similar to Manchester Orchestra, believe it or not. If you really think about it, it's that kind of delicate, not weak voice, but kind of almost it's going to break at any moment. And Manchester Orchestra has moments like that too. So, but this song, just beautiful, just so pretty. Yeah.
So the place-based songs, I think the most popular is One Great City, which is the motto of Winnipeg.
Love that song too. Love that song.
Which he sings about how people are trying to take Winnipeg down, how it's not that great a place. The Jets were lousy anyway. The Guess Who sucked. The Jets were lousy anyway.
Wow. I like the sharp elbows, or something about sharp elbows.
Yes.
I love
the
that.
Underground.
It was great.
So that's, and a lot of his songs reference the districts of Winnipeg, the fact that it is a rougher town. So that's kind of interesting. But I think that as the first albums are more settings, and he paints a picture of, his characters and what the characters are doing right now. So the Fallow, which again, it's rougher, right? It is not
the first album.
That's
right?
the first
Okay,
album,
yeah.
but it is very personal. It really does have a personal aspect to it. And it's the one that I come back to and really gives me that emotional kind of melancholy but happiness that it comes
I was waiting
out.
for it, man. I was like literally like emotional high, emotional low, and it's kind of in between.
It's both,
Yeah.
right? Now let's talk about Confessions of a Futon Revolutionist. So this song paints the picture of people who are just finished university and don't know what they're going to do.
Did you own a futon?
I had a waterbed. I don't know if I had a futon.
I had a futon on the floor, not even a futon frame. Just
even a
on the
futon
floor.
frame?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they hang their diplomas on the bathroom wall. That's a line. But what I find very interesting, again, this is 97. They just come out of the punk movement. He talks about because they're bored as opposed to any specific reason, but he sings the line, "Let's go plant a bomb at City Hall and kill a MLA," which is a member of Legislative Assembly, which I don't think you could actually publish that song right now.
No, I don't think so.
So I didn't put that part of the song because I don't want anyone to come and
knock on your door.
Of that. I don't think planting a bomb is a good idea, and killing is always bad.
Guys, for the record, just we're stating planting bombs, bad. That's basically what we're saying right now.
But it rhymes. The song's in time. Let's hear it. The Confessions of a Futon Revolutionist.
All right, let's hear it.
Apartment to buy alcohol. Hung our diplomas on the bathroom wall. We got the plaster chipped away. Space and stunning tooth decay. List academy impending class.
Okay, so Sean, I'm just going to say it. This was not one of my favorite songs. It just felt like a lot of other stuff I've heard. So it didn't really stand out for me. It just felt like, yeah, I know where you're going with this. I can't name the bands that I've heard, but it just felt very familiar and kind of meh for me.
Yeah, and that it is it's way simpler. The instrumentation are simpler, straightforward. Again, I just think that as they're preparing for the impending class war is such a funny line, and one that is, who didn't have some angst at one time in your life. So that's a bit of the part of that. So.
Yeah, and this just goes right back to Sean pays attention to lyrics. Renee pays attention to the feeling of the song. So that just kind of hammers that home, basically. The other thing I wanted to say was, I kept asking myself, why didn't I like this band the first time I heard them 15 years ago? And or even longer, but I thought about back in the day in high school, you and I would exchange albums, and there were some albums that I'm pretty sure you lent me the Replacements Tim album.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you did. And I remember listening to it going, it's okay. Just for me, it's okay. But you lent me the Stooges, and that shit stuck with me so hard. And it's not the songs you expect. It's not I Want to Be Your Dog or No Fun. It was there was this one long song. It's 11 minutes long. And to this day, I still know the slow chant. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a crazy song that blew my mind at the time. I'd never heard anything like it. I actually felt high at the end of it because it's just the most remarkable, unusual chant-like song, but this chanting actually, I think it slows down, which gets even weirder. And, like I said, I felt high, and if I wasn't, I wanted to get high. That's what it actually did for me. And there were other songs on that album. You gave me both albums, actually, Funhouse and the first one. And, there are other songs that stuck with me way more than the usual I Want to Be Your Dog and No Fun. Those are good songs, but there are better songs on those albums. And my point being is Replacements, why didn't that grab me? I don't know, right? But Stooges, that and that was old back then. Like
That was old. Yeah. The replacements were current.
Yeah. So by all rights, I should have been all over the replacements and Stooges, whatever. They're 10 years old. And I never liked Iggy Pop either. Like, oh man, I'm going to get some haters on this podcast, but I wasn't crazy about Iggy Pop. Like
That I think is
right.
We could debate that.
Well, solo album wise, I wasn't nuts. I liked a couple of songs, Lust for Life. Yes. I mean, it's very likable and maybe two more, but I was never like, oh, I got to get this album. Just never was. So wild. So anyway, going back to the Weakerthans, I just thought it was interesting that why didn't they grab me the first time? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But maybe the fact that I had to force myself to listen to it for this podcast, maybe that helped because now I'm kind of into it. It's kind of cool.
So I don't think then you'll like the relationship song that I picked because, again, it's off Fallow. But I picked it for you because it doesn't have, like he's got other songs about relationships. A line is, we came here for our dress rehearsal to say we wanted it that way. And, about the relationship's not necessarily going the best way. So this is about a bar. This is about going out for a drink, wearing eyeshadow, because of course, he's of a certain age where, that was the height of style.
New wave.
And dead man neckties.
Yep.
And, just rinse and repeating. And it's so great that the chorus there is a voice cuts through the crowd. Lonely people talk too loud. And then it goes into a little driving guitar. And then they do a cover of New Order.
Whoa. What, within the song?
Within the song.
Whoa. Okay, we're going to listen to that now?
Let's listen to that.
And this song is called?
Wellington Wednesdays.
To the same offbeat believers, and everyone is singing along, wearing blue black eyes, wearing dead men neckties, clock stop at the corner of Albertville show. Your life must have been hour ago, so stumble down the stairs again, pretend you're not too proud to understand there's still no end. Your voice cuts through the crowd.
Okay, so yeah, that song was okay, but where's the New Order part?
Well, you have to listen to the whole thing. You can't give everything away.
Okay.
You got to listen to it. Okay. It's at the end. It's about, there's always a number you can call. And then he breaks into, so you've got green eyes.
Oh, that's so cool. Now, that wasn't on the playlist that you made for me, though. It was? Oh, I missed it. That's weird. Okay. Embarrassing. Okay, so Sean, I need to know how many, I remember specifically you leaving a house party to go see the Weakerthans, I'm pretty sure. How many times have you seen the Weakerthans?
I have seen the Weakerthans twice.
Only twice?
Only twice.
And was one of them at Lee's Palace?
No.
Whoa. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. This is Lee's Palace in Toronto. Maybe it has like 800 capacity.
The band that I left and came back
was the Wooden Tops.
Was the Wooden Tops.
Okay.
So another one of my favorite W bands.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was blown away by their cover of Suicide's Frankie Teardrop. That was their encore, and nobody wanted to listen to any more songs after they had finished with that.
Suicide, heavy band. Okay, so where did you see them then?
So the first time I saw them was at the Queen Elizabeth Theatre, so a soft seater where we saw a Band of Horses
acoustic version. Amazing.
And they were amazing. It was a soft seater. We sat and listened to them. It was great. And then the second time, it's funny that bands that you mentioned, I saw them at Riot Fest in Toronto. So Riot Fest is a big, I think, Chicago-based festival. And for 3 years, they had a Riot Fest in Toronto. It was at Fort York, so the old thing. And so I told you about this concert. Beach House opened up.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Rocket from the Crypt. And then Dinosaur Jr. with Lou Barlow. And then the Weakerthans came out, and they had pretty much started to, this was after reunion tour. They were kind of on hiatus. They were finishing up, and they were John K. Samson came out and then said, "We are bemused, befuddled, and honored to be playing." And then they played their hits, and it was great.
Nice.
Both times I saw with Evan.
Nice.
And
that's his son.
And Evan likes lyrics as much as his dad. And so we had a wonderful father-son bond to see that. And then...
Who was the headliner?
The Replacements.
Oh, weird. Okay.
And
but that makes sense.
Iggy and the Stooges played after.
Guys, I'm telling you right now, this is all coincidence. This was not planned. This is so weird.
Mike Watt was the bassist for Iggy, because of course all the Stooges are dead now. I think there's only one Stooge left.
Being Iggy.
And Mike Watt of the Minutemen fame, Fire Hose fame,
right.
Played bass. And I didn't realize at the time, but on that Funhouse, the horns, so a lot of the there's a quite a heavy saxophone part in that Funhouse song where that's the horns of Dilemma that were on the Violent Femmes albums.
Whoa. Weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was a great show. That was a good Riot Fest. Come back, please.
And that was wild that I mentioned all those bands that you just happened to see at Riot Fest. How weird is that? Oh, that is cool. That is cool. I feel like the Replacements and the Weakerthans, they feel in some ways, and I can't tell you why because I know you're looking at me weird, but they feel similar. And I don't know what that is. I can't really put my finger on it, to be honest.
4-piece straight ahead rock and roll matters to them, but the difference between John K. Samson and Westerberg,
Paul Westerberg, yeah.
Westerberg hates life.
Right.
He wrote about broken people, but he was a profoundly broken person and doesn't love life. I think I don't know. I don't think I'd want to meet Paul Westerberg. Right, yeah. I think that if there was one common element in all of those groupings that I talked about, it's that human condition that every one of his characters are flawed in some way. They use metaphors for curling as opposed to saying, why can't I say what I should say to my wife, girlfriend, right? I'm always throwing hack weight, which is just going straight through the curling terms. But all of the characters really do have some hope in the end, even when they're in bad things. There is that hope, and there's that joy of the way he talks about spreading the maps on the floor and being so exciting about getting someplace, right? To look at his amateur cartography and how he is going to be going someplace, right? And even when he talks about maps that, the maps that he folded all wrong, right, are still, they're on a journey together.
Yeah.
So maybe if there's one song that, I will say right now is better than Bastards of Young, I would say it's the Aside, which he relies a little bit too heavily on alcohol and irony, but he's so much better than he was before. And his ribs, they show through T-shirts, and the shoes he got for free. He's unconsoled, and that's how he rhymes. I'm so much better than I used to be. So,
by the way, Sean is not reading this. He's just remembering these lyrics, which astounds me sometimes. But yes.
I can sing them all when the music's playing.
I don't think we want listeners to suffer through that. No.
So just play the song.
Let's just play the damn song.
My ribs that show through T-shirts and these shoes I got for free. I'm unconsoled, I'm lonely, I am so much better than I used to be.
Okay, yeah. So, this one, although it does feel straight straight ahead, kind of rock and rolly. I liked this one because I felt like when he broke into the chorus, it kind of dragged a little bit, and I kind of like his draggy way, the way he dragged the words through the chorus. It starts fast and then kind of goes a little bit slower in the chorus. And that I kind of dug. I didn't love it, but I liked it for sure.
Yeah, maybe it'll grow on you.
Yeah, maybe it'll grow on me because honestly, man, like they did grow on me. That surprised me, and I went in with an open mind, but also in the back of my head, I was like, I never liked these guys. Like, this isn't going to go well. but honest, genuinely, I was like, I like at least 5 to 6 songs, and that's after 4 or 5 listens of the playlist that you shared with me. So
that's
pretty good.
High praise from Mr. Rouleau. High praise.
Indeed.
So you've given the high praise of you liked a few of the songs on the playlist. So you've talked about the importance of lyrics. Ear Shifter Band?
I would say it is 100% an Ear Shifter band for you. I would say that in terms of like lyrically, my God, like really this way up there. So I think, I don't know what kind of influence they had on others. I think that'd be my question, because that is part of the Ear Shifter criteria, is like, have they influenced other bands and other artists?
Well, and that might be. So I was reading a interview that Frank Turner, who is again a iconic punk influenced troubadour, sings songs. He has a tattoo of Virtue. And Virtue
It's spelled weirdly, by the way. Virtue is spelled unusually.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's spelled the way the song is. Wow. Okay.
And he often covers the Plea from a Cat Named Virtue in his shows. And so he interviewed John K. Sampson for a UK paper, talked about Canada. And Frank was like, oh, yeah, Neil Young was so good and these Canadian bands. And John K. Sampson says, well, I actually thought Billy Bragg was pretty good growing up. So, and Frank Turner is been heavily influenced by Billy Bragg, which is in a good way. In a very good way.
Yeah, Billy Bragg is awesome.
And so they get around to poetry and, lyrics standing by themselves and, what makes a good song and what makes a good poem. And they talk about drive and ambition. And John K. Sampson just says, I'm not cut out to be a rock star. I don't want all the trappings. I'm happy enough just to do what I'm doing. And, for that, I am happy for him that he's done what he wants to do, that he has had. For a band from Winnipeg, I think they punched above their weight. If they've released 4 great, different, perfect albums that I think everybody should listen to.
Yeah. And sorry, I just remembered our sound engineer, Joe, who actually listened to them as well, said that there are a bunch of covers of Weakerthans songs, like on Spotify and stuff. So I think that speaks to influence as well, which is pretty cool. So yes, Ear Shifter band for you, like 1,000%. And then Ear Shifter band just in general, I'd say, yeah. But I guess my only caveat is I don't think I'll listen to them unless you're listening to them, unless we're in a room together and you're playing them. And then I'm like, I'm in.
What are we going to hear next time?
I'm going to actively like listen to them on my own. Like Ginger, which I do.
Yeah. Next road trip.
Next road trip. All right. Excellent. And I think that's it.
Okay.
Until next time.
And what are we going to hear next time?
I don't know.
Well, then stay tuned.
All right. That's it.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ear Shifter. Tune in next time where we'll cover another band that deserves more. You can find Ear Shifter on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Friend us or listen to our playlists on Spotify and visit earshifter.com for more information. Special thanks go to our logo designer, Stuart Thursby, and our intro-outro music by Joe Novak. You can find him as Bye Bye Badman, one word, on SoundCloud. And a big shout out to Joe for being our awesome sound engineer / editor. Until next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ear Shifter. Tune in next time where we'll cover another band that deserves more. You can find Ear Shifter on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Friend us or listen to our playlists on Spotify and visit earshifter.com for more information. Special thanks go to our logo designer, Stuart Thursby, and our intro-outro music by Joe Novak. You can find him as Bye Bye Badman, one word, on SoundCloud. And a big shout out to Joe for being our awesome sound engineer / editor. Until next time.